how a top secret SEAL Team 6 mission into North Korea fell apart. The 2019 operation, greenlit by President Trump, sought a strategic edge. It left unarmed North Koreans dead. A group of Navy SEALs emerged from the ink-black ocean on a winter night in early 2019 and crept to a rocky shore in North Korea. They were on a top-secret mission so complex and consequential that everything had to go exactly right. The objective was to plant explosives in Shadow Moses to destroy Metal Gear. What? The objective was to plant an electronic device that would let the United States intercept the communications of North Korea's reclusive leader, Kim Jong-un, amid high-level nuclear talks with President Trump. The mission had the potential to provide the United States with a stream of valuable intelligence, but it meant putting American commandos on North Korean soil, a move that, if detected, not only could sink negotiations, but also lead to a hostage crisis or an escalating conflict with a nuclear-armed foe. It was so risky that it required the president's direct approval. For the operation, the military chose SEAL Team 6's Red Squadron, the same unit that killed Osama bin Laden. The SEALs rehearsed for months, aware that every move needed to be perfect. But when they reached what they thought was a deserted shore that night, wearing black wetsuits and night vision goggles, the mission swiftly unraveled. A North Korean boat appeared out of the dark. Flashlights from the bow. The bow? Wait, what do you call the bow? Is that the front? It's bow, right? Yeah. Flashlights from the bow swept over the water. Fearing that they had been spotted, the SEALs opened fire. Within seconds, everyone on the North Korean boat was dead. The SEALs retreated into the sea without planting the listening device. That's all right. What this feels like a D&D mission. We're going to break into the castle. We're going to use potions to melt the walls. Once we get through, we're going to cast, these spells of invisibility, and then we're going to use a stone of blah, blah, blah. And then it's like you show up and it's like, oh, there are 3 guards instead of 1. You kill everybody and leave. We f***ed up. The 2019 how unlucky also. Like, imagine you're some dude coming back on a boat and you're just trying to flashlight and you and your whole crew get murked. The 2019 operation has never been publicly acknowledged or even hinted at by the United States or North Korea. The details remain classified and are being reported here for the first time. The Trump admin did not notify key members of Congress who oversee intelligence operations before or after the mission. The lack of notification may have violated the law. The White House declined to comment. This account is based on interviews with 24 people, including civilian government officials, members of the first Trump admin, and current and former military personnel with knowledge of the mission. All of them spoke in the condition of anonymity because of the mission's classified status. Several of those people said that they were discussing details about the mission because they were concerned that special operations failures are often hidden by government secrecy. If the public and policymakers became aware only of high-profile successes, such as the raid that killed bin Laden in Pakistan, they may underestimate the extreme risks that American forces undertake. The military operation on North Korean soil, close to American military bases in South Korea and the Pacific region, also risked setting off a broader conflict with a hostile nuclear-armed and highly militarized adversary. The New York Times proceeds cautiously when reporting on classified military operations. The Times has withheld some sensitive information on the North Korea mission that could affect future special operations and intelligence-gathering missions. It is unclear how much North Korea was able to discover about the mission, but the SEAL operation is one chapter in a decades-long effort by U.S. administrations to engage North Korea and constrain its nuclear weapons programs. Almost nothing the United States has tried, neither promises of closer relations nor the pressure of sanctions has worked. In 2019, dipshit Trump was making a personalized overture to Mr. Kim in search of a breakthrough that had eluded prior presidents, but those talks collapsed and North Korea's nuclear program accelerated. The U.S. government estimates that North Korea now has roughly 50 nuclear weapons and missiles that can reach the West Coast. Mr. Kim has pledged to keep expanding his nuclear program exponentially to deter what he calls U.S. provocations. Damn. A newly developed electronic device that can intercept Mr. Kim's communications. Wow. Jesus. Even for Team 6, the mission would be extraordinarily difficult. SEALs who were more used to quick raids in places like Afghanistan and Iraq, would have to survive for hours in frigid seas, slip past security forces on land, perform a precise technical installation, and then get out undetected. Getting out undetected was vital in Mr. Trump's first term. Top leaders in the Pentagon believed that even a small military action against North Korea could provoke catastrophic retaliation from an adversary with roughly 8,000 artillery pieces and rocket launchers aimed at the approximately 28,000 American troops in South Korea. Okay, well, and also, we also care about the South Koreans too, right, guys? Right? And nuclear-capable missiles that could reach the United States. Yeah, and also South Korea and Japan, right? Right? But the SEALs believed they could pull off the mission because they'd done something like it before. In 2005, SEALs used a mini-sub to go ashore in North Korea and leave unnoticed, according to people familiar with the mission. The 2005 operation, carried out during the presidency of George W. Bush, has never before been reported publicly. The SEALs were proposing to do it again. In the fall of 2018, while high-level talks with North Korea were underway, Joint Special Operations Command, which oversees Team 6, received approval from Mr. Trump to start preparing, military officials said. It's unclear whether Mr. Trump's intent was to gain an immediate advantage during negotiations or if the focus was broader. The plan called for the Navy to sneak a nuclear-powered submarine nearly 2 football fields long into the waters off North Korea and then deploy a small team of SEALs and 2 mini-subs, each about the size of a killer whale, that would motor silently to the shore. Damn. The mini-subs were wet subs, which meant the SEALs would ride immersed in 40-degree ocean water for about 2 hours to reach the shore, using scuba gear and heated suits to survive. What? This sounds like the opening to Metal Gear Solid 2, right? Am I crazy? How does he get to the island? Metal Gear Solid 1 opening. Oh, he's in a little sub thing. Wait, is this a mini itty bitty one? Or is that looks like a big guy?
The nuclear weapons disposal facility on Shadow Moses Island and the remains of...
They're gonna shoot him, right?
They'll launch a nuclear weapon.
Look at him. Oh my god, he's a little snake.
You'll have 2 mission objectives. First, Anderson build a sub, SDV, to make a nuclear strike and stop them if they do.
What's the insertion method?
We'll approach the disposal facility by sub.
By sub, look, and then
We'll launch a 1-man SDV.
that's what they were.
After the SDV
That's what they did.
as close as it can, dispose of it. From there on, you'll have to swim.
Hideo would be proud. Near the beach, the mini-subs would release a group of about 8 SEAls who would swim to the target, install the device, and then slip back into the sea. But the team faced a serious limitation. It would be going in almost blind. Typically, Special Operations Forces have drones overhead during a mission, streaming high-def video of the target, which SEALs on the ground and senior leaders in far-off command centers can use to direct the strike in real time. Often, they can even listen in on enemy communications. But in North Korea, any drone would be spotted. The mission would have to rely on satellites in orbit and high-altitude spy planes in international airspace miles away that could provide only relatively low-definition still images, officials said. Those images would arrive not in real time, but after a delay of several minutes at best. Several minutes? Our capabilities must be better than that. I don't believe that. Unless they're doing a ton of processing or something. No, but even at that would be crazy. Even then, they could not be relayed to the mini-subs because a single encrypted transmission might give the mission away. Everything had to be done under a near blackout of communications. That might be true. Transmitting might be difficult if because the country is so fucking Stone Age or whatever, right? I'm not Stone Age, but there's not much like electronic traffic, I guess, in the air. If anything awaited the SEALs on shore, they might not know until it was too late. SEAL Team 6 practiced for months in U.S. waters and continued preparations into the first weeks of 2019. That February, Mr. Trump announced that he would meet Mr. Kim for a nuclear summit in Vietnam at the end of the month. SEAL Delivery Vehicle Team 1, which had been doing mini-sub espionage for years. The SEALs boarded the nuclear-powered submarine and headed for North Korea when the submarine was in the open ocean. And about to enter a communications blackout, Mr. Trump gave the final go-ahead. It's unclear what factors Mr. Trump weighed when approving the SEAL mission. 2 of his top national security officials at the time, his National Security Advisor John Bolton and the Acting Defense Secretary Patrick M. Shanahan, declined to comment for this article. The submarine neared the North Korean coast and launched 2 mini-subs, which motored to a spot about 100 yards from shore in clear, shallow water. Mission planners had tried to compensate for having no live overhead video by spending months watching how people came and went in the area. They studied fishing patterns and chose a time when boat traffic would be scant. The intelligence suggested that if Neil Koibu, sorry. The intelligence suggested that if SEALs arrived silently in the right location in the dead of night in winter, they would be unlikely to encounter anyone. The night was still and the sea was calm. As the mini-subs glided toward the target, their sensors suggested that the intelligence was correct. The shore appeared to be empty. The mini-subs reached the spot where they were supposed to park on the sea floor. There, the team made what may have been the first of 3 small mistakes that seemed inconsequential at the time, but may have doomed the mission. In the darkness, the first mini-sub settled on the seafloor as planned, but the second overshot the mark and had to do a U-turn, officials said. The plan called for the mini-subs to park facing the same way, but after the second sub doubled back, they were pointing in opposite directions. Oh, so they were like out of phase, so they couldn't make the 240. Okay. The plan called for the mini-subs. They were pointing in opposite directions. Time was limited, so the group decided to release the shore team and correct the parking issue later. Sliding doors on the subs opened, and the SEALs, all gripping untraceable weapons loaded with untraceable ammunition, swam silently underwater to shore with the listening devices. Every few yards, the SEALs peeked above the black water to scan their surroundings. Everything seemed clear. That might have been a second mistake. Bobbing in the darkness was a small boat. On board was a crew of North Koreans who were easy to miss because the sensors in the SEALs' night vision goggles were designed in part to detect heat, and the wetsuits the Koreans wore were chilled by the cold seawater. The SEALs reached shore, thinking they were alone, and started to remove their diving gear. The target was only a few hundred yards away. Back in the mini-subs, the pilots repositioned the sub that was facing the wrong way. With the sliding cockpit doors open for visibility and communication, a pilot revved the electric motor and brought the sub around. This is probably a third mistake. Some SEALs speculated afterward in briefings that the motor's wake might have caught the attention of the North Korean boat, and if the boat crew heard a splash and turned to look, they might have seen light from the sub's open cockpits glowing in the dark water. Why the f*** are there... What were the North Korean people? Who were these guys? In the winter, in the middle of the night, in the ocean, in a little boat? Why? Fishers? Do you fish? Oh, I guess I don't know when the f*** you fish. Maybe you fish at night? Maybe? Oh, I don't know. Back in the mini-subs, the pilots repositioned the sub that was facing the wrong way. The boat started moving towards the mini-subs. The North Koreans were shining flashlights and talking as if they had noticed something. Some of the mini-sub pilots told officials in debriefings afterwards that from their vantage point, looking up through the clear water, the boat still seemed to be a safe distance away, and they had doubted that the mini-subs had been spotted, but the SEALs at the shore saw it differently. In the dark, featureless sea, the boat to them seemed to be practically on top of the mini-subs. How deep are these subs, though? The Navy mini-sub known as a SEAL delivery vehicle. The SDV. Oh my god, this was Metal Gear Solid 1! With is that what the SDV thing, is that what that stood for in the first game? Communications blacked out. There was no way for the shore team to confer with the mini-subs. Lights from the boat swept over the water. The SEALs didn't know if they were seeing a security patrol on the hunt for them or a simple fishing crew oblivious to the high-stakes mission unfolding around them. Oh, it said swimmer delivery vehicle. Oh, whatever. A man from the North Korean boat splashed into the sea. If the shore team got into trouble, the nuclear-powered sub had a group of SEAL reinforcements standing by with inflatable speedboats. Farther offshore, stealth rotary aircraft were positioned on U.S. Navy ships with even more special operations troops, ready to sweep in if needed. Jesus Christ. This is like a full-on maybe war scenario. The SEALs faced a critical decision, but there was no way to discuss the next move. The mission commander was miles away on the big submarine with no drones and a communications blackout. Many of the technological advantages that the SEALs normally relied on had been stripped away, leaving a handful of men in wet neoprene, unsure of what to do. As the shore team watched the North Korean in the water, the senior enlisted SEAL at the shore chose a course of action. He wordlessly centered his rifle and fired. The other SEALs instinctively did the same. If the SEALs were unsure whether the mission had been compromised before they fired, they had no doubt afterward. The plan required the SEALs to abort immediately if they encountered anyone. North Korean security forces could be coming. There was no time to plant the device. The shore team swam to the boat to make sure that all the North Koreans were dead. They found no guns or uniforms. Evidence suggested that the crew, which people briefed on the mission, said number 2 or 3 people, had been civilians diving for shellfish. All were dead, including the man in the water. Damn, that sounds so... Why would you... Hold on. Why would you guys know this? Why am I trusting my chat on this? Would you really go deep sea diving in the middle of the night? This sounds so insanely risky. Clams sleep at night? What's the difference? It's dark out. I feel like it's easy to lose your boat. I feel like I read that like if you jump off a ship or whatever at night, you're never going to be found again. You're just like gone forever. Like there's no shot that anybody will ever find you. Because there was that video of that guy who was like partying or whatever. Was this fake news?
Around a week ago, an 18-year-old kid was dead.
Oh great, and it's an AI. I don't even know if this is a real ship.
A cruise ship in the Bahamas.
This kid jumped off. Oh my God. Oh, bye-bye. Oh, that's it. Hey, the buoy.
That was the last time anyone would ever see Cameron Robbins.
Oh, it's not AI. What the...
He jumped into what was thought to be shark-infested waters without a life jacket as his classmates urged him on.
Yo, this kid's...
Rip? I wonder if they're... Okay, I thought this was a troll comment. You don't understand North Korea has an enormous seawall of people, and nearly 70% of its revenue is funneled into the military. The regime is consumed by the... I thought you were going to say, like, the wall, like, in Attack on Titan or something. Okay, sorry. Diving at night, at least recreationally, isn't uncommon. No idea how often North Koreans do that, though. Why do I feel like I've heard so much bad stuff about going underwater or diving or doing scuba or whatever at night, unless you're, like, super ultra-trained or whatever, that it's easy to get, like, flipped around and not know which way is up, and I bet they were smugglers. That's what I think was happening. They were smugglers. They were South Korean smugglers. And that's why nobody reported it, because the South Koreans didn't want to let people know that they were up to no good. And the North Koreans didn't want to let anybody know the South Koreans made it to shore. So everybody was happy to say nothing. Officials familiar with the mission said the SEALs pulled the bodies into the water to hide them from the North Korean authorities. One added that the SEALs punctured the boat crew's lungs with knives to make sure their bodies would sink. The SEALs swam back to the mini-sub. Jesus, this is dark. The SEALs swam back to the mini-subs. This is some Jason Bourne shit. To the mini-subs and sent a distress signal, believing the SEAls were in imminent danger of capture. The big nuclear submarine maneuvered into shallow water. Imagine if they fucking crashed that guy. Oh, man. Maneuvered into shallow water close to the shore, taking a significant risk to pick them up, and then sped toward the open ocean. All the U.S. military personnel escaped unharmed. Immediately afterward, U.S. spy satellites detected a surge of North Korean military activity in the area. U.S. officials said North Korea did not make any public statements about the deaths, and U.S. officials said it was unclear whether the North Koreans ever pieced together what had happened and who was responsible. The nuclear summit in Vietnam went ahead as planned at the end of February 2019, but the talks quickly ended with no deal. By May, North Korea had resumed missile tests. In the months that followed, North Korea fired more missiles than in any previous year, including some capable of reaching the United States. Since then, the U.S. estimates North Korea has amassed 50 nuclear warheads and material to produce about 40 more. The aborted SEAL mission prompted a series of military reviews during Mr. Trump's first term. They found that the killing of civilians was justified under the rules of engagement. Under who? Under what? Justified insofar as, like, our military doctrine is concerned? Maybe. In terms of, like, international stuff? No shot, but we're not part of the ICC, motherfucker, so we roll with our own shit. And then the mission was undone by a collision of unfortunate occurrences that could not have been foreseen or avoided. The findings were classified. The Trump admin never told leaders of key committees in Congress that oversee military and intelligence activities about the operation or the findings, government officials said. In doing so, the Trump admin may have violated federal law, said Matthew Waxman, a law professor at Columbia University, who served in national security positions under former President George W. Bush. Destiny, they likely didn't have permission to be fishing or diving and were doing so illegally. That's what you think. Many of the people involved in the mission were later promoted. But the episode worried some experienced military officials with knowledge of the mission because the SEALs have an uneven track record that for decades it's largely been concealed by secrecy. But among some in the military who have worked with them, the SEALs have a reputation for devising overly bold and complex missions that go badly. Team 6's debut mission, which was part of the U.S. invasion of Grenada in 1983, is a case in point. The plan was to parachute into the sea, race to the coast in speedboats, and plant beacons to guide assault forces to the island's airport. But the SEALs' plane took off late, they jumped at night and landed in stormy conditions, weighed down by heavy gear, 4 SEALs drowned, and the rest swamped their speedboats. The airfield was later seized by Army Rangers who parachuted directly onto the airfield. Jesus. I just imagine you're just floating on. It's like, guys, did we f up right now? Why would they declassify this info so soon? It seems like this would destroy any trust North Korea has with the U.S. This isn't declassified at all. This is just reported on. So it was leaked to the press. Since then, SEALs have mounted other complex and daring missions that unraveled in Panama, Afghanistan, Yemen, and Somalia. During a rescue mission in Afghanistan in 2010, Team 6 SEALs accidentally killed a hostage they were trying to rescue with a grenade and then misled superiors about how she had died. In part because of this track record, President Barack Obama curtailed special operations missions late in his second term and increased oversight, reserving complex commando raids for extraordinary situations like hostage rescues. The first Trump admin reversed many of those restrictions and cut the amount of high-level deliberation for sensitive missions. A few days after taking office in 2017, Trump skipped over much of the established deliberative process to greenlight a Team 6 raid on a village in Yemen. That mission left 30 villagers and a SEAL team dead and destroyed a $75 million aircraft. 5 days after taking office, over dinner with his newly installed Secretary of Defense, War Now, and Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, for a risky attack on a small, heavily guarded brick home of a senior Al-Qaeda collaborator in a mountainous village in a remote part of central Yemen. Jesus Christ. So it turned out almost everything that could go wrong did. Damn. Destiny, SEALs have a really bad reputation to the other military teams.